We are back now on the Chip Shot Football Podcast here, and on this segment, not so much to do with just the NFL, but related to the NFL because we're talking about two of the potential biggest stars on and off the field coming into the NFL in next year's draft in 2025. And it was actually around draft time this year that we talked about actually on the show about Deion Sanders, and the first time, the draft was brought up, and the first time he was asked about Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter and that whole draft process that they're going to go to. And they asked Deion Sanders about Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, being drafted, and at one point he mentioned how they would be both top 5 picks after, this season that we're currently in. And it kind of looks like that, the way that they're playing, the way that it's all lined up. If Colorado can, maybe win the Big 12 and get into the tournament and everything like that, they already, they're locked in for top picks in the draft. But if they do that, top 5 could be looking realistic, like Deion Sanders said. But in that interview back when we talked about it, he also said that he would have no problem with, pulling an Eli Manning when it came to his son, Shedeur Sanders, obviously, and also including Travis Hunter, which he, considers as family and everything like that. They're very close. But if you guys are unaware of what that actually means, pulling an Eli on the draft and on draft day, it relates back to when Eli Manning was obviously drafted, and he actually was drafted by the Los Angeles Chargers, but he didn't want to go to the Chargers. And because he was drafted there and he didn't want to end up there, he said that he wouldn't play for them if they did draft him, and they still went ahead and did that. But, they came to an agreement. Eli was very adamant that he didn't want to be drafted there, but the fact that they did, they figured out a trade later on in the draft, just about like an hour later, and he was traded to the New York Giants, basically getting drafted to a place that he wanted to go other than where he wanted to, right? He avoided the place that he wanted to go. And a lot of times, that's not up to the players, but that was really the only time we saw so publicly that a player said, this team might draft me, I might go number 1 overall, but I don't want to go there for, quarterback development reasons and things like that at the time with the Chargers. So, Eli was very public about it. It became a whole big thing, obviously, right? Everyone still talks about it. And, Deion Sanders mentioned how he would have no problem, doing something similar. But Deion recently spoke on FS1's Speak, and he was asked about doing something similar to that, or he was asked about that last time he referenced it, months ago now, when we last talked about it, and he said that he would have no problem doing it, but just not as publicly as Eli did it, right? He was going to do it behind the scenes, privately, to some of these teams where, essentially he didn't see fit for, his son, obviously Shedeur Sanders, and Travis Hunter. So how unprecedented that is and how that might rub NFL teams the wrong way is something to talk about, because I don't think it's totally outlandish or crazy. And it's not just the fact that he's Deion, that has something to do with it. But I wanted to give a reason before I showed you guys, or after I showed you guys what Deion exactly said. In that interview on FS1, he said, someone in an ideal scenario where he would like Shedeur and where he would like Travis, to essentially get drafted to, he didn't name any specifics, but an ideal location would look something like this. He said, someone that has had success in the past handling quarterbacks, or someone in an organization understands what they're doing, not just throwing you out there amongst the wolves if you don't have the support and the infrastructure of the team. And it seems like pretty fair prerequisites of what you'd ideally want a perfect scenario to look like, right? Every quarterback wants it to look like that, but of course, not everybody can go to where they don't want to go, right? Not everybody has the opportunity to say, I don't really like, this team or this team. I'm just going to tell them I don't want to be there and, have them actually listen to them. It doesn't work like that. But Deion, with who he is, with the cachet that he brings, and, that's Deion Sanders, right? Most people involved with sports that follow sports know who Deion is, and he's done a lot, obviously, in his playing career, baseball, football, and things like that. Off of the field, everybody still knows who he is, and being involved in college, he has sort of revolutionized the whole college scene with how he does things and things that he says, and the aura. It's funny using that word now. The aura that he's brought to Colorado, and just the aura around him, and how really that's made an effect in Colorado, and how good he has them playing as of now. It's the whole like Deion effect, right? He is one of the only people I believe it related to sports that could actually say something like this, and have some people say, well, that's Deion. He could do that, and no one would have a problem with it. And it looks like he's going to do it now with his son, obviously, making sense of that, and Travis, who he has a great relationship with as well. And, the draft is still a long ways away, but Travis and Shedeur will definitely be top 10 picks because they're playing great overall this year. But I personally don't really have a problem with this, just reacting to it and seeing the quote and actually seeing the interview as well. I don't have a problem at all with Deion doing something like this, and he says he's not going to be public about it, so I think this is as public as he's going to go with it. But, yeah, I mean, I think really the biggest thing with me, one, is that players and even probably coaches that are close to their players want them to go to great situations, right? But the way the draft works, obviously, is that the good teams that have great situations are picking later in the draft, right? The bad teams are the ones that get the first picks. So you're most likely not going to go to a contending team right away and just step in there and have immediate success. It usually doesn't work like that. But I think it is a realistic thing for fathers like Deion, for coaches and things like that, to have their preferences as to where their players, their family members want to go, right? I think there was a report that I recently saw that Caleb Williams' family, wanted him to end up in Washington, obviously because they're from there, they're from that area, but also they deemed it reportedly as a better situation for Caleb, and now in hindsight, it turns out to be the case. But again, they just can't say and tell the Bears, don't draft me because I don't want to be there. So Caleb goes to the Bears. Now looking at Washington and Jaden, you see how drastic those situations are. But really, the most important point I wanted to make is that I don't mind this because of how rookie quarterbacks are treated, and how, it's become a trend now at how so many rookie quarterbacks and just young players are not really put into great positions. And I think that's really a problem that the NFL has, right? There's been too many instances where the same mistakes just continue to happen, and teams just file through these rookie quarterbacks and just, move on from them like it's nothing, right? We've seen it just endlessly recently with like Justin Fields, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson. We're seeing it here a little bit. Obviously, Caleb Williams, Malik Willis was another name that just wasn't in a great situation overall. Regardless of if you think he's a good player or not, the overall organizational handling of him wasn't great. Trey Lance is another one. He got injured, and that's very unfortunate, but since then, he's just not played anymore. So that's another one. Mac Jones, great rookie year, but then it all just went downhill from there. They move on from him. They trade him for basically nothing, and now he's a backup quarterback. Trevor Lawrence, a little bit, his first year with Urban Meyer, that was a disaster. And Deshaun Watson as well in Houston, not really being surrounded with the pieces that he needed to kind of take those next steps. He played great, but it wasn't enough. It's not like it hindered him too much, but Houston definitely could have done more to help Deshaun Watson out during his time there, obviously. And there's a lot more quarterbacks you can mention in this discussion, but as a father, because he's got the presence to go out there and do it, why wouldn't he take advantage and do that, and kind of take a stand a little bit here for these NFL teams that just feel like if one rookie quarterback doesn't work out, we'll just go out and get another one. It doesn't just work like that. And I think they've kind of not gotten away with it like like there's some like evil like master plan against these rookie quarterbacks, but it just feels like it's too easy, and like the development aspect of things isn't there anymore, or isn't there as much. There's too many times where these quarterbacks are given up instantly after a year or two when, all the blame goes to them, but you could easily put it on, the organization, the coaching not being appropriate, the system not matching what that quarterback does or does great. And, they move on from him and they don't really give him another chance. And then everybody else is looking at this quarterback like, oh, like look at him, like he's a bust. Like it didn't work out there. Like, they just think that they're not good anymore. And you look at people like players like Baker finally finding a system that works for him, and now he's playing fantastic. Sam Darnold is another one, finally gets to a coach like Kevin O'Connell, and you look at the success he's had throughout the entire year. There are players like that. There's talent out there like that. Justin Fields also hasn't been, impressing everybody countlessly, but he had some great moments. He helped the Steelers get to a couple wins, and, he didn't look like that at all in Chicago. So those are the things that I feel like if Deion can avoid that for his son and someone like a great player like Shedeur and even Travis Hunter also, to make sure that their talents are put into a position where they could succeed and grow and really help an organization. And he is, Deion Sanders at the end of the day. Why wouldn't he go out there and do that? People are going to take it wrong, and people are going to, be against Deion, like most people I'm sure already are. There's a lot of people that aren't Deion fans for some of the things that he does, but I feel like those people are the ones that don't like the idea of change, or don't like the idea of someone going against the grain and kind of overstepping and kind of stepping up and standing up to these NFL teams. And again, Deion might be the only guy in the world who could do something like this, but the way that he is, unapologetically himself, and the confidence that he exudes and everything like that, he could go out and do this, and I think it'll work out just fine for Shedeur and Travis at the end of the day. But I thought it was interesting how he brought it up again, and with these two guys probably going to situations maybe like the Raiders or Jacksonville or the Patriots. That's how it's lined up, but it's going to come down a lot to, Deion and how he kind of wants it to lay out. And if he deems, one of them not the ideal fit or anything like that, then they're probably not going to go there, and it's going to be weird and it's going to be uncomfortable. But I don't mind it. I think it's a good thing to not put these players in a position where it's not going to work out, especially if they don't have the help there and the development that they need. I like this. I like the fact that Deion is going to do everything possible so we can see the best of Shedeur Sanders and we can see the best of Travis Hunter at that next level, because they are that good, and putting them in bad scenarios where it kind of makes them look worse, that's not really fair to them. And, I think it's going to work out, and I'm just interested to see where they end up going, because I think it's undebatable, without a discussion, that they're going to be great in the NFL. So it's still a long ways away, but still, that was an interesting thing that Deion brought up recently in an interview. But we still have one more topic to get to. Moving on from the college scene a little bit, going back to the NFL, we're going to start a little series here, just moving forward throughout the rest of the season. We're going to go through each division and talk about the biggest unanswered questions that we have for each division and each team in that division as we move along to the second half of the NFL season. We're going to start off with the NFC North after this break, so come back and join us while we discuss what we still need to learn about the Lions, the Bears, the Packers, and the Minnesota Vikings.